All right, another edition of Manage Import Office Hours. And we are going to go through the agenda for today's meeting. I can share my screen here. It's really quick.
Awesome.
Or maybe not really quick, but share screen. All right, so a lot to talk about. So you don't know some of this, Harris, but what I started on Friday is creating user flows for group migration. And my goal here is just to document, like this is for the MBC, and kind of document where we were and where we plan on going. So everything we've discussed up until this point, you know, the new layout, the ability to see group metadata. So, and the other flow I have going is if a, you know, the empty state essentially. So, and then I'll do for cancel, of course. And what I've started to write out is a list of kind of every flow that we should document. And some of these obviously can be confined into one flow, but I just want to make sure I capture everything. So just looking at this list, can you think of any anything that I should add?
Yeah, let me just see through the list a little bit and see.
I didn't.
What is the difference between group migration and bulk? So this is like the individual, like a single group, and
Yes.
bulk? Okay.
Press bulk. I'll put single.
Creating a top level group. This is, I feel like that may be describing a creation. I would just say, you know, migrating top level group, something like that.
Yeah.
Migrating a group that becomes a top level. So really we're talking about top level groups on a destination instance. So migrating a top level group. And we know what it is, but yeah, because we should not be just creating any kind of blank group as part of migration. Mm-hmm. The only groups that get created are the ones that are migrated, because in users' mind, I'm just moving my group from here to here. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that we create a fresh new group and then we import all the data in is kind of a two-step process that the user may not care about. So when talking about, like, you know, from the user perspective, I would say that, you know, we're not creating groups. We are just moving your groups from one instance to another.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was, I don't know why I wrote create.
Yeah, but I know we've gotten ourselves confused in several issues by talking about creating, and I think we need to probably just make sure that we clarify that it really doesn't mean a creation of something that doesn't exist. We're just recreating the thing that existed somewhere by, you know, migrating it across.
To me, that's like promoting.
But it's not necessarily. Like, what if it was a top level group in my previous instance and becomes a top level group in my destination instance? I'm not promoting anything. I'm not like moving anything up in rank. Mm-hmm. Also, no, we don't. Yeah, go ahead.
I meant promoting in the fact that when you move a subgroup to a top level group.
I don't know if that's the verb that is understood though. Like, if you ask the user what promoting a group might mean, I don't know that we would get the answer that it means, oh, taking a subgroup and making it a parent group. Mm-hmm. And vice versa. Like, if we ask the users, well, what if we just move this subgroup up in a hierarchy or all the way to the top? What would you call that? I mean, there's probably ways to discover that and like let the users tell us what the verbs are that we should use.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and this includes both promoting and non-promoting. Like this third bullet point includes something that used to be a top level group, is top level group in the new instance, or was a subgroup and becomes a top level group.
Did you see my wireframe that I did showing exactly what you just explained?
Not necessarily. I don't remember seeing a wireframe like that. So if you would link to that, I would like to take a look.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is going to be so useful. Like the fact that we have all this laid out and then be able to say, okay, well, you know, this is the experience we have so far. These are the things that, you know, these are the issues for the things that we don't have. And this is going to be the full experience. It's going to be so helpful for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And then we can point out the inconsistencies, which is another point on my list, is a map out current MVC project versus group migration.
Yeah.
And document, which I have already started a, I'll link that too, a scorecard. So I can do a scorecard for both potentially, just from internal perspective, not necessarily from a user.
So the bulk action, is there anything other than applying the parent group to everybody? Are there any other bulk actions that you could think of? Because I think that's the only one, right?
Yes, or we could, I don't know if remove or archive would be, or if we want to lock, so that, I'm just thinking of different actions. If we want to lock the groups so that no one can perform a re-import, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we have that. And that'd be a bulk action then.
Yeah.
I'd say we have to find some single actions and then promote them to bulk actions.
Right.
But that's the only single action that I think is, could be made bulk.
Yeah, and what I have here, which is an agenda item, the idea of selecting either by picking per row or select all, and then have a drop down, which you can, I don't know what that is necessarily, but, and we of course could get rid of this, especially for the time being. But I'll get into that in a second.
So yeah, different error states,
Like,
that's a good one. So around the bulk action, and I don't know if this is something that needs a Figma flow or not, is really a decision around, well, what is the default parent that we should pick? Like, I don't know that I'm happy with whatever random thing we have right now. I feel like we should maybe ask our users about it and ask what should be the default parent group that we select for all. So when you come fresh to the screen, you know, there's going to be some parent group selected for all of them. And I wonder, like, what is the right thing for different users, maybe different thing for us to have there. And I think that sort of plays into the apply the change to all, because am I saying that this is really my new default? Like, should this be just like next time I come, should this be it? So is it apply change to all right now, or is it make default in a way, or maybe both those options, right? Yeah. And I really don't know that we have a great, so I think exploring that would be really good to understand what should be picked as a default, and should the users be able to change that and make something else a default. And then in context of that, also apply that change to all the selected, I guess it would be all selected, not just all on a page, or maybe. So is it all selected or everything on the page? Or everything everywhere on all pages?
Yeah.
So that's a good one to explore. I feel like that one's kind of murky for me.
I have some examples here. I can just show you of what's in our product as far as how bulk actions are handled. So here, it's selected. And if you check out, well, so they have a lazy load. And what happens when you,
This is production, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let me try this over again. So if I attempt to select all, if you scroll down, you have a lazy load. You then have empty check boxes. And then you have to select all again. So it's kind of like it does single page.
Yeah, but this is really not a great experience. Like, because it's kind of a random as to where it draws the line, like how much it loads. It's like random. So
yeah,
what's the chance that that's the exact number of things that you really need is whatever it just loaded? Like, what's the chance that's the right answer?
Right, because of what you saw, what I had to do is scroll up just to check that the above were selected as well.
Right.
So this is editing a issue, or I'm sorry, issue board issues. And what you can see here, this is what we are doing, which is the multi.
But this one is purely per page. Like you even get kicked out of the edit mode and you lose the checkboxes if you navigate, which kind of is, I think, better than leaving the checkboxes there, because then it's clear to you that nothing is selected. Like you were kicked out of the edit mode, therefore there is nothing selected from the previous page. So it's kind of a clean break in a way.
Yeah, I think I would rather have the checkboxes there because I'm already in edit mode. So like the fact that I have to go back to edit issues and then, have the checkboxes exposed.
I would too, but I would also want them to be, to remember what I already checked. Like, don't just uncheck the things I just checked because I went to the next page.
Well, I think this does. Oh yeah, of course this does because it kicks you out of edit mode.
So I think the fact that it doesn't remember, I think it's probably better that it just kicks you out of the mode, because then it's obviously communicated it did not remember. Because the only thing that's worse is just really not even knowing which way it went. Like, is it selected or not? Like if you have no way of telling, then that's really bad.
Yeah. Let's see. So there's two options for pages. Let's see. Where was I at? Okay. Anything else? If you have anything to add to that, please do.
No, this looks pretty extensive. And as you said, probably some of these will get combined into the same flow because they're just like different branches or different views of the same flow. But I mean, it's a good starting point. So by the time we get through these, we'll probably remember the other stuff that we want to get
down. So next is, so I have kind of been brainstorming different layouts. Well, first I've created a pixel perfect or Figma file to start from. That way it's like, cut and dry. So what I want to show you, well, here, let me go back to. So all we're showing here is the various status states, as well as which I'll show this in an actual prototype, but then we have column sorting in the header. And then here's the various state if you're re-importing, and we can certainly change this. I'll make a disclaimer on this file, like nothing's set in stone, but here's a the basics.
We'll set in stone when we get to the issue. Like once we get to the issue,
Yeah,
an issue that implements a particular thing, then it's set. But yeah.
yeah. This
That's
is
good.
purely conceptual. So here's the idea of making the filter field a little bit more prominent. And this could be, we need to research if you're likely going to be searching for a particular group, or what else would you do? So the idea here is that you can select what you would like to filter. So either by source group, new group, or what have you, if there's anything else to sort by, or to filter by. And then I've added this bar below that's similar to what you just saw. So we have 0 selected. You can select your entire group, or I'm sorry, all of your groups, and perform bulk actions. Of course, that's if we get to it. Another thing I added, so hide all completed. To me, this is a first step towards using the tab system that we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And basically you click this and it hides all the complete groups.
I actually like it because it's simpler than the tab system. I mean, it just really is,
yeah,
exactly what it's supposed to be. It's not
yeah.
any more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, but I could see where, for instance, failed. Oh, actually, never mind. I just talked myself out of that. And then the next.
So one piece of feedback on this is we should be cognizant of the vertical space, because in this case, the actual content versus navigation filters and other things seems like we have maybe a quarter or a third of the page used up by non-content, and content is really relegated to a small part of the page. Yeah, like everything from the content starting with the code quality experiments, like those are the groups that I'm looking at, GL demos, GraphQL, like that's the content that I'm paying attention to, and everything else is just navigation and how I get there. So maybe we should look into combining some of this on a single line, or just relegating things kind of behind, maybe having a smaller filter that pops up if it needs bigger or whatever. Like, I don't know what the things are that we could do, but it feels like we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines, 7 bands of navigation to just get to the first line of content. It feels excessive. And
I don't know, because there may be more actions. So I hesitate to move this down here. Plus, I think there's different hierarchy when you lay this out. So if it's kind of, if the user wants to filter by a specific name or a specific word, then I think this would be important to have kind of prominent. But this is a pattern that I have. Does vulnerability have this? Yeah, so this is a similar situation.
It doesn't make it right.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I don't necessarily agree with it. Just because there needs to be some level of hierarchy. And if you start putting this on the same line, well, what happens if we have additional actions? So this is the most flexible, in my opinion.
Well, the counter question is valid too. What happens if we never have any actions?
But do we really think that's going to be the case?
I can't think of anything other than selecting the new group, like selecting the parent and then make it so for everything on this. Like, I don't see what else we could have a bulk action on. Also, the hide all complete, I think, is a filtery type of thing. So maybe it could like, live close to the filter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, just something to be aware of. I'm not dismissing this. I'm just saying that I think we're getting there to where, kind of the content to navigation surrounding stuff ratio is getting low. And that's definitely, I feel like that's a problem for me in a lot of the GitLab UI. Like the fact that the description is relegated to that small window regardless how big my monitor is. And my descriptions are pages and pages long, and I have to scroll in that little description window and I can't make it bigger or anything.
Yeah.
That's really a problem. Like for
I don't think I know what that experience looks like.
Well, if you just go to your issue, like open any issue, go to like, if you click on any of the issues and look at the description, and just, So now if you edit the description.
Oh,
this is the size of your editor, right?
Yeah.
So you can't make it bigger, you can't make it scroll, you can't make it wider, longer. And I think we do have like even patterns that are out there outside of GitLab are all about, well, just let the user resize the big text edit box to whatever size makes sense for them, as opposed to fix it. So I feel like I'm bumping against that. Even the 20 issues per page, it feels very constricting. Like, I think my computer can handle 50 and I can scroll a little. So
we talked about that before. And I think we should do 50 because there's no rhyme or reason why we're doing 20.
Well, other than everywhere else. And I think the fact that we remember your choice is crucial here. So I'm okay if like the first time you arrive here, it's 20, or for somebody who never uses this, like it really doesn't matter what it is. But the first time you tell us that you would like to see 50, next time we're showing you 50, like that becomes 50 for you. So I think that does it for me. And I didn't want to like, really argue a new standard for the default, given that we were kind of told that 20 is the standard. I was okay with that as long as we just remember, like you should tell me just once that 20 is not enough and you like 50. And from now on, don't worry, we'll show you 50. That's probably good enough for me. But yeah, I didn't know that 20 is a great number.
Well, I thought that Tori said, well, I can look for it later.
I think she did say that there was no particular reason for that. That said, it is that, and it is that on all the other. So if we change it, a default, then it probably makes sense to just change it everywhere.
Right. I mean, we could say the same thing about showing X amount of items per page. If we're going to make that change, maybe this is a good opportunity to do 50 rather than 20.
Yeah, I just don't know if I wanted to, like battle that battle for this one issue that I really want, merged in as soon as possible.
And then this could be then, this could be then a future, or maybe not.
And then like this experience is also not great. So hopefully they can learn something from things that we're exploring. Which is ability to select across pages and also have a selectable page size. Maybe they would move away from this infinite load scenario.
Yeah. What else did I want to show you? Oh, the only thing different here is where import selected is. So if you can imagine, first time you select something, this would turn active. Here's just another location for it. Tied closely.
Yeah, it feels a little out of space to be on the title line, because that's I would imagine that like applies to like this table, like like a close issue would sit there. So if this was an issue, it would be like close issue. So it would be like close this table or something that would just change the table itself, not some of the items in the table if it was sitting up there that high. I think if you just drop it down to the next line, which is showing 1 out of 20 and 163, and then there it would say import 20 selected, like that almost reads like it's on the same level, like reads as a sentence, like, well, you selected 13 and now import 13. That feels like even, it feels slightly more appropriate.
Well, we wouldn't have a count for this button because we'll show how many are selected down here.
Okay, but I mean, either would work, yeah. Like import selected and then somewhere else you say how many selected. That said, maybe we would want to show those two things close to each other so we know they're related. Like over here says 13 selected, and then kind of on the opposite side, like on the right-hand side, it says import selected, but I'm visually not connecting the 13 selected and import selected. I kind of have to look left to right. So maybe if they were closer to each other, 0 selected, and
like
after that import select, that reads better. That reads like 13 are selected, import these selected things. And it's not like all the way on the other side. So I like that much better.
Another thing I'm suggesting is our row height. So for the table, so this is 53 pixels tall, which is a smaller version of our table. And this is 60 pixels tall, which gives like a little bit more breathing room around all of that.
What's the number of items that you can fit on one versus the other without scrolling?
I think this is the same. Let's see. If you compare the two, how many are?
There'll be some difference, right?
So 10 here and about 12 and a half on the more condensed version.
Personally, I do like the more condensed version. If I had a choice of like, a setting for the table that says show me condensed table versus show me the more sparse table, I would select the condensed because it doesn't feel cramped at all, but shows me two more things, which if I'm managing a lot of data, I'm all about data density and just showing more data to me.
Well, let me review the visual design with some other folks, because this just might in fact be too tight compared to what Pajama's standards are. But this is our current pixel height for each row. I don't know. I'll ask around. And then this is just, okay. Here's what I want to show you. So in this case, I have separated parent and subgroup. And the reason why potentially is for filtering. So if you could filter by subgroup or if you filter by parent group. And then what would happen, potentially we could have the re-import button there. Another thing was like, here we go. Like, how does one get to this next group? So right now I just have subgroup clickable. Another option would be to have a link that says group, and I'm going to have to space this out a bit more. But then we could have an overflow menu, which like, view failed, log, view, whatever we want to put in. Because right now it's getting super cramped, and I didn't even put in the projects numbers. I can't remember what those icons are. Additional metadata. So this will be interesting once I get, but I just thought we would be in need of an overflow menu for maybe the actions that are secondary.
Well, as far as filtering goes, I think the only filter that we have heard people ask for was the from source group.
Mhm.
Like that's the only input we've got. We got no votes for any other filters. Well, actually status, sorry. I think it was the from source group and status. The parent group and subgroup are destination. They're more of just inputs. So they're my inputs. You're not showing me data that
Exists.
It's the data that I want to input to make something happen. So sorting by my input is not as interesting probably as sorting by like the data that is intrinsically there. Like this is its name. This is where it's coming from. This is the status. Those are the things that are there. When I name it, I can just change that all the time. So I suspect that we might not be able, or we might not need to implement the filter.
Yeah, and then if we hear from users, we can certainly add.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
We'll go with this option. I mean, minus the finessing up here. Let me see if I have.
So what else might be there in the dropdown where you have the source group for the filter? Does it mean that we can only filter by one thing?
Yeah, this wouldn't be here, I guess. We wouldn't need that.
Right.
We're just filtering by one.
Yeah, filtering by one thing for now. I think the show all complete is a nice addition to that filter because that way I can just hide everything or hide all complete. I don't know like which way we should say that. But yeah, so be able to hide everything that's completed and just have a great filter there.
Yeah.
Because I think if this is a long-lived thing, it may get really like a lot of the things that are completed and only a few that are left to be done. So you may want to just start hiding everything that's completed. So it's a very good way of getting to your data.
All right, I'm not hating this.
Yeah. it's a ringing endorsement.
I did. Yeah, that's nice. Okay,
so what about the button that says select all 163? I noticed there isn't a select all checkbox because typically you have like one checkbox above all of the other ones. That means select all. And that's a pattern that exists like elsewhere.
So you have select all per page and then a select all in your
like, well, you can, do you even have a select all per page here? Like, how would you select all per page? Oh, there. Okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
I mistook that for one of the line items. Okay, so
sorry,
there selects everything on this page.
Do what?
Okay, no. I was just talking out loud to myself to try to grok how I feel about it. Yeah, it looks good. Google has an interesting metaphor there that we might want to consider as well.
Yep.
And they have a drop-down next to the checkbox that's a select all. So the select all is just one checkbox.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have a drop-down that says select all 163 or select all 20 on this page or whatever. You know, we could just put the two choices there. But when you hit the select all, it actually has
well, it gives you a single page. Or I'm sorry, when you select all.
But the metaphor, what I was talking is the interaction where you actually have a drop down next to a checkbox. So the checkbox actually does two different things depending on which way the drop down is flipped. And I wouldn't hide the text. I would put the text there. Like potentially have a checkbox that says right next to it, select all 163. But the select all 163 would have a drop down next to it and you can switch it to 20 on this page as opposed to all 163.
Is it the fact that select all 163 isn't coupled with the checkbox, the select all checkbox?
Yeah, it does feel like two different experiences to select many things. One is through a button, another one is through a checkbox. And I do think that the checkbox is the more natural one to sort of rule all the other checkboxes.
But you're hiding that ability, even though I guess.
Well, we could promote it out of that row, out of the column title row, up to the row above there, and then it would be a checkbox there with a drop down to the right to select what it does.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So you would have a checkbox next to it. Would you still have zeros? Would you still have all of this information?
We can, let's maybe, yeah, I think so. I think it'd be good to know how many are selected, but the button would go away and the checkbox would act as a button. So maybe move all that to the right for now to just make some space and see how that looks. So the checkbox would have the words next to it that used to be in the button. So to the right of the checkbox, you could have text similar to that zero selected that just says select 20 for the page or select 163. Select all 163.
Select everything.
Something like that, yeah. And then there would be a drop down next to that text. To the right of the text, there would be a chevron.
Yeah.
And you know, you could engage the chevron to see the pop down. And it would pop that choice and the other choice. Like, you know, we had two choices. It would be select all 163 or select 20 on this page, something like that. Like we could talk about the text, but it would mean that. It would mean that one is the select all, the other one is select.
Get rid of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to throw it out there. See if it sticks, if it makes sense, because then we would combine the select all. There wouldn't be one button and one checkbox, because the checkbox also didn't tell me what it was going to do, whether it selects all or not. Like I could have expected by selecting the checkbox that all the pages get selected. Yeah, that one. Like that doesn't tell me if it's just this page or does it select other pages. But if it was up there and had text next to it, then I would know, you know, for sure. It really means just, yeah. Oh.
And then this would be in the drop down, I guess. Select all, select everything on this page. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll mess around with that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, thinking out loud, like reacting to things I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of this stuff. Do you want to, did I notice this correctly? Did you flip the words on the checkbox that is show all complete or hide all complete? Did the words change because it's now checked?
No.
Oh, no, okay.
I just use different, I think, language.
I see, hide all complete and show all complete, okay.
I don't know which one's correct.
I would say that you come in and everything is visible, and then you want to filter down by hiding some of it. So I like this. Yeah, that made a lot of sense because everything is visible and I can then choose to hide all complete. But then I thought that if I selected that, you indicated the text would change to show, meaning that, you know, that's what the toggle would do. But
no.
that was confusing.
Yeah, sorry. I mean,
Okay.
this would stay.
It would just be selected, hide all complete, and then half of them would be missing, which is good.
Yeah. And then I need to figure out how to add in.
I'm kind of undecided on whether to separate or combine the two. I think separating does introduce one thing, and that is now we have to name these. So this is no longer destination. Now we are introducing parent group and subgroup. And if we're actually moving into a new parent group, then the parent group would say none, and then the subgroup would actually be the subgroup. So it may get confusing to try to separate the
I
two.
need to find out. I need to show you, because I did a whole exploration about promoting.
Or maybe like keep the interaction separate to where the drop down is separate from the type in name, but really just have one name for that column. Let it still be just one column.
So it
Yeah.
would be like,
It would be that column, but then the experience inside could be separate, but we don't have to name each thing.
so it would be like, I like that.
Oh no, the opposite. I would say then on the other one, just keep one column name as opposed to having two column names.
So
I mean,
that,
we could have that too. Like that's another interesting thing. But I was saying that on the one that you like more, where the fields are separate, we could still just have only one column name, and it says to destination group or whatever.
well, I mean, I don't think this is necessary if you don't think that users are going to be even.
Yeah. So maybe we go back to
Point.
that, the original, until we figure out different. Yeah, that's probably simpler.
Yeah, at least to
Alright.
test with users. Which
Yeah,
I
if
want.
users tell us, like some things may earn their way in by users telling us that's what they want, right?
Okay. And I showed you, so I'll just continue to work through that. I really want to create a prototype and at the very least get ready for user testing. If we even come up with more concepts between now and then, great. But that is my goal. That's my top goal, I think, this milestone. So here's an interesting user interview that talks about project and group import, specifically GitLab integration. So if you just want to watch, it's just a couple minutes.
Okay, I'll watch offline.
And then I guess this is for you. But here's a table spec. So this is great.
Is this related to the discussion we had about like what things we want in the table?
Oh, it's just I found this. I can't remember where I found this, but it's just the table specced out. It wasn't.
Oh, okay. So pixel perfect table spec. Okay, not features, but pixels, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And so should I close this, removing the?
Let's remind ourselves, or let me remind me what that is.
That was.
So is this just about removing the icon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else was required. Remove the external icon. Yeah, I think we kind of talked a little bit about it, and I've convinced myself even more so that this is what the web standards are, and also what our Figma standards are.
Yeah.
I think in this case, it just needs to be an external icon because it's an external system, even if it's another instance of GitLab.
Yeah.
It's a different instance of GitLab. Therefore, it's not internal. Like it's different login. It's different. It may look different. It may be a different version. Like everything could be different about it.
Well, and this is a good differentiator between like old versus new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, not to. Well, we just talked about it in planning as well. GitHub, Bitbucket, all the other importers are also going to have this external icon on the left side. So if we want to be consistent and not make it confusing for the users, we could, would probably follow the pattern for that reason too.
Yeah.
I mean, it just means take me out of this system that I'm in right now.
Do what? Say that again?
It pretty much says, take me out of the system that I'm in right now. External link. And the domain is different. So by definition, by like the web standard definition, if the domain is different, then it's an external link. And in this case, it would be a different domain.
Yeah. Okay, I'll close this issue. No problem. And then that's it for my agenda. I didn't think we'd get through all this, but we did.
Well, we were 16 minutes over, but that's okay. It's just us, and that's okay.
I'm recording this, so let me